Hey guys, I apologize I don't have an intro today, but I wanted to give you a little look at what we're doing. So it's a smoky purple eye. So let's get started. To start off, I'm prepping my skin with Skindinavia's Makeup Primer Spray. This is the one for oil control. Now I'm going to prep my eyes for eyeshadow. I'm using my MAC Painterly Paint Pot. It's just a skin-toned eyeshadow base. And I'm taking that on my Sigma E39 brush. This is a great brush for applying eyeshadow base. This Painterly Paint Pot is a really good eyeshadow primer for covering up any veins or discoloration that you may have in your eyelids. It's very opaque, so it covers all the imperfections very well. So I'm just taking that from my lash line all the way up to my eyebrow. And then to set that, I'm going to use the Too Faced Natural Eyes palette, and I'm going to use that shade in the top left called Heaven. It's just a matte cream colored eyeshadow. And I'm going to be using my Sigma E50 large fluff brush to set that. So I'm actually using this eyeshadow as a brow bone highlight as well as to set the eyeshadow base. But if you notice, I'm just using it to set the base on the crease and the brow bone. So I'm not really putting any of this eyeshadow on my eyelid because we're going to be putting a much darker color there a little bit later. And then as soon as we're done with that, I'm going in with my Sigma E40 tapered blending brush. Like I've said before, this is the best blending brush. And I'm going in with the Jaclyn Hill Favorites palette now, and I'm going to use that shadow right there, which is actually eyeshadow number 16 if you wanted to buy it individually. So I'm just putting that all over my crease, all the way from inner to outer, and I'm just blending it back and forth in windshield wiper motions and then in circular motions. And I'm using this color as my transition shade. By the way, these shadows can be purchased individually at morphebrushes.com or at their store in Burbank if you don't want to buy the full palette. And then I'm taking my MAC 217 brush and I'm going in with the eyeshadow number 71 from the Jaclyn Hill Favorites palette. It's that eyeshadow right there towards the bottom right. Just dab my brush in that, and I'm taking this all in my crease area. So just kind of almost on top of what we just did, but just slightly lower, not quite as high. So that's why we're using a more dense, fluffy brush, not as fluffy of a fluffy brush, if that makes sense. So I'm just putting that all throughout my crease from inner all the way to outer corner, just buffing back and forth in windshield wiper motions. As always, I will have all the products that I use listed in the description box below, so make sure to check that out. And these eyeshadows, by the way, if you purchase them individually, they're only $2 each. Now I'm just going back over with my E40 blending brush, the same one that we used earlier, just to make sure that everything is well blended and there are no harsh lines. And then I'm actually going to go in with Too Faced glitter glue. I know I'm not using actual glitter, but sometimes when I use a really shimmery, sparkly eyeshadow, I like to use glitter glue. So when you're using this product, it is extra sticky. It's not like a normal eyeshadow base, it's very sticky. So make sure that it is very well blended wherever you're going to put it. And I'm just putting that directly on my eyelid. Not in the crease at all, just on my eyelid where we're going to go in with this next darkest shade. So using my MAC 242 brush, it is just a very small, dense packing brush. It's really good for packing color all over the eyelid. I'm going to go in with that color right there, which is actually eyeshadow number 48 from Morphe. And I'm going to be putting that all over my eyelid from inner to outer corner all the way up to the crease. I'm not going above the crease at all. You'll see that I'm actually creating a harsh line, which is a no-no, but we will be blending it out later. So I know it's going to look a little bit crazy and a little harsh at first, but we will go back in and blend it out. And then when you are using this glitter glue, you want to do it one eye at a time because it is very sticky. So you'll see I put the glitter glue on my eyelid and then I put the eyeshadow on top. And then I went to the next eye and put the glitter glue and then put the eyeshadow on top. So one eye at a time. So again, I'm just packing that on all over my eyelid. You can make this color as intense as you like. I kind of chose to do a little bit more deeper smoky eye today. And then on that same MAC 217 brush, I'm taking that eyeshadow, which is number 24, and I'm just using that to blend out that harsh line that we have between that darker purple and the lighter shades above it. This actually takes a little bit of time, so don't get frustrated. Just make sure you take your time, blend back and forth, and just make sure you get that harsh line nice and blended. And the idea here is to have like a darker shade at the bottom and then have it get slightly lighter in the middle and then the lightest at the top. So if you notice, like all the tones that I chose for this look, they're all similar. They're all like pinky, purpley, burgundy kind of shades, but the darker one is the lowest, and then it just fades up from there towards the brow bone. Here I'm going back in again with the same Sigma E40 that we used earlier, just to give it a little quick swoosh across the eyelid to make sure that everything is blended. Then I'm just going to clean up the edges just to make sure that the eyeshadow doesn't go too far down on my face. Now I'm going to take this brush. It's a Sigma E32 brush. And I'm going to use this to take that Heaven shade that we used to set our eyeshadow base from earlier. I'm just going to use that to add a little bit more, so it just adds a little bit more brightness and kind of lifts the eye. If you put a light shade right there underneath the arch of your eyebrow, makes your eyes look more open and more lifted. Some of the brightness kind of got blended away when we were putting on those other eyeshadows, so I'm just adding it back in. And after that, I'm going to go in with eyeliner. I'm using Maybelline Eye Studio Gel Eyeliner in the shade Blackest Black. And I'm going to use this on my Sigma E65 small angle brush. You see right here, it's just a very small, teeny tiny little angled eyeliner brush. It's really good for creating very small lines and very sharp lines. So I like to do this when I do a winged eyeliner. So when I do a winged eyeliner, I start just making a regular line, like I'm doing a regular eyeliner. So I just put it just on my lash line, as dense as possible, just make a straight line all the way across. And then later on, I'll go in and do the wing. But to start out, you just do like a regular eyeliner. And I'm sorry I'm slightly out of focus during this shot, I apologize. So I do it the same way I do pencil. I just start at the outer edge and make my way towards the center. And then from the center, I make my way with tiny little dabbing motions towards the inner corner of my eye. And the closer I get to the inner corner, the lighter my touch is, because I don't want the line to be too thick. And then I'm going to go do the wing. So I make a little flick on the outer edge of my eye up towards the end of my eyebrow. And then I turn the brush over and I put the brush at the very top of that line and drag it towards the center. And then I'll let you watch me do the same thing to the other eye. So I just make a little, tiny little flicking motions up towards the end of my eyebrow. And then I'll take the brush and flip it over, and I'll put the tip of that brush at the top of the line and then drag it towards the center. And then I'll take whatever's left over on the brush, and I may even add a little bit more in and just kind of fill in any gaps or spaces as you see me doing here. And then to sharpen up the wings, I'm going to take a little bit of eye makeup remover on the end of a Q-tip and just use that to clean up any edges that I want to be extra sharp. And then I'm going in and curling my eyelashes. This is something that I never skip. My eyelashes are super straight, so I need to curl them. I'm using my Maybelline Lash Sensational mascara Like I said in my last video, I've been really loving this mascara. It's been working really well for me. So I usually do about 2 to 3 coats, but whatever works best for you, feel free to do it however you choose. And then I'm going to prime my face for foundation. I'm using Cover FX Mattifying Primer. This primer works really well for people with oily skin. So I just put that everywhere all over my face, and then I press it into my skin to make sure it gets nice and good into my pores. And then I'm actually going to go on top of that with another primer. I'm going to use my Makeup Forever Smoothing Primer. I just put it in one particular area where my pores seem to be extra large, so I just put it right there. And I press that into my skin. It fills in the pores really nice and makes a very good canvas for foundation. To set my concealer and prevent creasing, I'm going to use my Laura Mercier Secret Brightening Powder. And I'm going to take that on my Sigma F35 brush. I love this brush for setting my under eye concealer. And this powder actually has tiny light reflecting particles in it, which brings a lot of brightness to the under eye area. And then to set the rest of my face, I'm using my MAC Select Sheer Pressed Powder. I use the shade NW20. So I'm just going to use that to set the rest of the foundation. I like to do this because I have really oily skin. Some people don't need to set their foundation. Sometimes the foundation just sets just fine for them. But I like to go in with powder on top just to make sure that my oil doesn't really come through. Now we're going to go in and finish the eyes. I'm sorry, this brush is a little dirty, but it's a flat definer brush from Sigma. It's a E15. And I'm going to go in and finish the under eyes right now. And I'm going to go in with that eyeshadow, that same one that we used to blend out the crease area. So I'm just going to put that very densely on the lower lash line. I always like to start, when I do this process, I like to start on the outer corner of my eye and make my way towards the center. And then I don't really take it all the way to the inner corner like the tear duct of my eye. I take it right about where my lower lashes stop growing towards the inner part of my eye, if that makes sense. So just get it as densely to the lower lash line as you possibly can. And just a little tip, like right there you saw me look to the left, I tapped off the excess eyeshadow. Every time I dip my brush into eyeshadow, I don't care if I'm doing my lid, my lower lash line, whatever, I always tap off the excess before I touch my eye with the brush. It's very important. Now I'm going to use this brush. It's a Sedona Lace 904 brush. It's just a pencil brush. And I'm going to go in with that eyeshadow right there, that same one that we used in our crease area from earlier. And I'm going to use that to buff out that lower lash line. Just makes it easier when you use an eyeshadow to buff out another eyeshadow. And then I'm going to put mascara on my lower lashes using MAC Extended Play Gigablack Lash Mascara. I love this mascara for my lower lash line. The brush is just so skinny and tiny. It makes getting all those little smaller hairs much, much easier. I know it may seem kind of weird to some people to use a different mascara for your upper lashes than you do for your lower, but for me, this just works out really well. After that, I'm going to go do my eyebrows, and I'm using the Brow Wiz pencil by Anastasia Beverly Hills in the shade Soft Brown. So the first thing I do is take the spoolie end and I just comb through my brows just to get out any excess foundation that may have dried in there or any powder that may be floating around in there, and just to kind of get them in the shape that I like. So I just use the pencil to create the shape that I like of my eyebrows. I still plan on doing an eyebrow tutorial. I'm just kind of having some troubles figuring out the angle of the mirror as far as the camera goes, because if you can see here when you watch me do my eyebrows, it just doesn't look like the right shape, but when I put my head up, the shape becomes better. So I'm trying to figure out how to do that for an eyebrow tutorial, but that'll be coming shortly. So I hope you don't mind for now. I'm just going to kind of speed through my eyebrows and just give you a quick overview on how I do them. And then I'm going to lightly contour with my Benefit Hoola bronzer. This bronzer is a great shade for people right around my skin tone. I'm going to use my NARS Ita brush, and I'm going to take this bronzer and place it directly underneath my cheekbones, just right in the hollows of my cheeks. If you're having trouble figuring out where to put the bronzer, I've heard that a good rule of thumb is to take something with a straight edge and place it from the top of your ear to the corner of your mouth, and that gives you a good guideline on where the color should go for contouring. And then I'm also going to place it right around my forehead, and just around the edges and on the temples right there. Just makes it look more balanced when I have bronzer on my cheeks. I put a little bronzer on my forehead, and it just balances everything out much more and doesn't make my forehead look so white. Here I'm just deciding which blush I want to use for this look. I decided on the Urban Decay one. This is their Afterglow blush in the shade Video. I just got this a couple weeks ago and I'm super in love with it. I've been using it almost every day. I'm using my Sigma F10 blush brush to apply this. So I'm just putting this above where we put that bronzer a minute ago, and I'm just starting on the apples of the cheeks and sweeping back towards my hairline. After that, I'm going in with highlighter. I'm using Loumanizer by the Balm. This is a very intense highlighter. I can't stress that enough. I just barely tap my brush in the product and still tap off the excess, and I get plenty of highlight. So I'm just putting this on the tops of my cheekbones and the bridge of my nose. That's my favorite place to put a highlight. And then as soon as I'm done with that, I'm going to go in with brow gel. I'm using Anastasia Beverly Hills Clear Brow Gel. It's my favorite brow gel to use. I just like to use this to keep my brow hairs in place and make sure that they stay where they're supposed to stay throughout the day. So I actually don't touch my skin when I put this on. I just use it to comb through the hair, so I'm very careful. If you actually touch your skin with it, it'll take off some of the pencil that I added in earlier. To set my makeup, I'm using Urban Decay's All Nighter Makeup Setting Spray. This is the best makeup setting spray. I've tried quite a few and I love this one. It keeps my makeup on all day long. For lips, I decided on this pinky nude combo. For the lip liner, I'm using NYX lip liner in the shade Peekaboo Neutral. So I'm just lining the outside of my lips and filling them in with the pencil. And then I'm going to go on top with Gerard Cosmetics Buttercup Lipstick. This is just a very light baby pink shade. Very pretty for every day. And then I actually decided to add some gloss on top of this. So I went in with Gerard Cosmetics lip gloss in the shade Shimmer of Hope. And there is actually a light on my lips. It's coming from the actual lip gloss wand itself. It's built in. So it's kind of cool. And then it comes with a little mirror on the side of the gloss tube itself. So you have a mirror and a light. It's just kind of neat. After that, we are all done. I hope you enjoyed this smoky purple eye look. I think the wing liner kind of gives it a little something extra. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye guys!